Hey everyone, it's Cassie. This is Junkin 101 with Cassie, and I am bringing you a non-design team video today. I know, crazy, right? All my latest videos have all been design team. But this was a requested video from a friend of mine in the JJ with Joy junk journaling group. Some questions have come up about Franken paper and how different people make them. I think they're all pretty much the same, but I just figured I'd do a video and show my techniques and explain a couple of different things you can do with the Franken papers. So I just have these scored cards. I'm choosing to use these today just because, for time's sake purposes, because Franken paper is quite time consuming if you're going to do a full 8.5 by 11 piece of paper. So I just figured I would take one of these, cut it in half, use them as little index cards, and make some miniature Franken paper pieces. So I'm going to start by just chopping these in half. And I'm just going to take my scissors and do it because they've already got the score mark there. And doing them with this size, you can use these for pockets and tuck spots, or you can make them into journaling cards or such things like that. Okay, so I'm going to set one of these aside because I think we're only going to work on 3. I'm going to show you a couple different ways on how you could do it. So you're going to need some index cards or something. Let me see how big these are. These are measuring 5.5 by like 4.25. So 5.5 by 4.25 is about what these pieces are that I'm using. So index cards, or like I said, you could do it on any size paper you want to. I'm just choosing to use these for time purposes. So you're going to need your base. You're going to need some scissors, of course. You're going to need your choice of glue. Any of these glues would work. This is my Fabri-Tac. I've got my glue stick, and I've got my art glitter glue. So any of these will work for you. You could also use like matte medium, or you could use gesso, or not gesso, Mod Podge, Collage Podge. Any of those glues will work. You could take Elmer's glue. You could use your tacky glue, Elmer's glue mixed with water, tacky glue mixed with water, however you want to do it. All those glues will work. Now, you're also going to need your scrap papers, and I have all mine here beside me that we're just going to pick and choose from. So I'm going to start here by cutting a piece of this scrap paper off, and I'm just using my scissors today. These don't have to be perfectly square. We're going to try and get them somewhat square if we can, but they don't have to be perfect. Now with these, depending on the size of your project and stuff, like with these, smaller pieces are going to look better. So this is probably quite a big piece for this, but we're going to just go with it. So I'm going to use my glue stick. And I'm just going to put some glue down here. And I am going to overlap the edges a little bit because we can go around and trim that off in a little while. So I'm going to use that. I've got this nice strip here of wood grain, so we're just going to put this on here like that. Let's see what else we got in here. I've got a piece of this Tim Holtz paper. So let's just cut a piece of this and stick it in this corner here. I'm going to put some glue down on this side. And you don't want to think about this too much. You want your placements to be kind of random. You want your pages to be different sizes, different colors, different shapes. Let's see here. I've got some of this music paper. Let's use a piece of this. This is a copy of a piece of music paper that I found in my stash. And I just love how close together the music is on this. It's like smaller, so it's pretty cool looking. Cut the white edge off of that, and I'm just going to, let's do like this. Okay. Let's find some more. This is kind of a cool piece. So these ones, I'm just kind of lining them all up next to each other. I haven't overlapped anything yet. Let's see what else we got. I'm just digging in the scrap bin here. That's why you guys don't see me right now. Oh, this is kind of cool. It's got some map on here. Let's cut a piece of this. Okay. So there we go. That covers pretty much most of that one. So I'm going to flip it over and I'm going to trim it up and cut all these edges off. Everything's wanting to stick to my scissors. Okay, one more side. Okay. Push all our scraps aside. Put the lid on our glue for now. Okay, so this is what we have. Now, I didn't cut this exactly straight here, so I've got a little bit of a gap here. So this is where we can go back in and do like some other pieces on top. Now this, you don't have to do this. This is just, I'm going to do it because I want to cover this up. So I've got this really pretty flower on this piece of page here. So I'm just going to cut a square around this flower. Try and straighten this up a little bit because this is going to be on the top here. And I'm just going to put it, well, I was going to put it that way, but I think I'm going to go ahead and stick it this way. I'm going to go ahead and use my glue stick. Maybe. And we'll just put this right here. Okay. Oh my goodness, I did not do that straight at all. Okay. There we go. So, this is our little Franken page piece now. I'm not going to add any more to this because I kind of like how it looks right now. What you could do, and I'm not going to do this on video for, you know, time-wise and stuff. It takes too long. But what you can do is you can now go to your sewing machine, sew around the whole thing, and then you can take and go here and here with your sewing machine, and then go down these lines here with the sewing machine, and that'll just give it some added texture and stuff. Now I'm going to go ahead and do that, and then we'll meet you right back here. Okay, and we are back. So here I have the same little Franken piece of paper. I'm going to just get rid of all these little threads and stuff. You don't have to cut these off if you don't want to. A lot of people like to leave them on there for the look of things, but I'm just going to go ahead and snip them off for this one. Okay, let's check the front. Okay, I think that's good enough for now. Okay, so as you can see, all I've done here is I did a straight stitch around the outside of it, and then in between each piece of paper where I've attached them together, I have done a zigzag stitch. Now you don't have to do this, you can just leave them plain. You can also do this another way. So there's that first piece. All we did was we cut our squares and strips and stuff, laid them up, and then sewed them. So that's one option. Let's move on to option number 2. So again, this is going to start the same way. You get your piece of paper, and I'm going to use glue stick again. Now the only thing that's going to be a little bit different about this is our application process. There's going to be an extra step in here. And that extra step is going to be our ink. Now on this first one that we did together here, I did not ink it. And you would think, oh, well, inking's not going to make that big of a difference on it, but actually the inking does make quite a bit of a difference on it. And all you're going to do is ink around your pieces. Now I only inked on 3 sides of this one because I'm going to put it over here and it's not going to be on that side. So all we're going to do is glue up our paper and then start placing our pieces and inking them. Now again, I'll bring in this piece. It's got a leaf right here that we could use. And I'll ink this. So I'm going to go ahead and speed up this process here. I'm going to continue finding my scraps and inking around them and then just laying them down. So again, like I said, I'll just speed up this process so you don't have to sit here and watch all of it. And we'll be back when I get this all covered. Okay, and we are back. So here I have just basically collaged this, and I have inked around every single piece. So as you can see from our first one, this one has inking on it, so you can tell where the different pieces are, versus this one has no inking on it. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take this to my sewing machine. I'm going to do the same thing we did with the first one, and I'm going to stitch around it. Now, you do not have to stitch around these. You can just leave them as they are. But I like the stitched look, and to me, the stitched look is the Franken part of it. Because when I think Franken paper, I just think different pieces of paper brought together to make one piece of paper. And when I think Franken, of course we think, you know, Frankenstein. And he's stitched together. And so I just think bringing the pieces of paper together and stitching them, it makes sense, and I like the look of it. So I'm going to go ahead and stitch this, and then we'll be right back. Okay, so here is our second one, and you can see I've just gone around and done the same thing. I did a straight stitch around the outside of it, and I've gone ahead and done the zigzag stitch where the different pieces of paper meet. Now on this part here, right here was a little too small for me. I mean, you could go ahead and stitch that. It's only going to be a couple of stitches, but I wasn't worried about it, so I just left it. So now that we've done our stitching and we have our pieces down and we've inked around all of these, I flipped it over and I trimmed it off so it's square with the piece of paper. So now we have to go around the outside and ink that. So I'm just going to take my ink and just go around the outside of it. And I am using the Tim Holtz Distress ink it's the Distress Oxide, sorry. I am switching from Distress ink over to Distress Oxide because the Vintage Photo Distress ink for some reason is just so hard to find. So I'm just gonna switch over to the Oxide. And that's how that piece looks. Now when you're done with these, you can, you know, embellish them up, decorate them however you want to, add more scraps of paper on top of them, whatever it may be. Now if you don't have a sewing machine, of course you don't have to sew these. You can leave them as is, or if you have the stamps that are the different sewing stitches, you could stamp those on here. You could take a gel pen or a marker of some sort and do faux stitching on these. There's a lot of different options what you can do with these. Now when I'm done with these, what I like to do is, don't mind this piece of paper, part of it I wrote on, is I like to take them and back them on a piece of coffee dyed paper. And I do the stitching before I do this because once we take this and we now glue it to our piece of coffee dyed paper or tea dyed paper or another piece of scrap paper or whatever, we don't have our stitching marks on the back side of it. So that's going to allow us to use these as journaling cards if we want to. Now, if you're planning on using these for pockets or tuck spots or something like that, then you wouldn't necessarily have to go back and back them with the coffee dyed paper. You could just leave them as is. But some people still, even then, like to go back and cover them with paper because as you're sliding things in and out of the pocket, they won't get stuck or hung up on the stitching that's on the back of your piece. So I'm just trimming this down now. And I'm going to go back and just give it a good push all around. And there we have it. There's the front and there's the back. And you could use this in any direction you want to. It doesn't matter. So there's our inked one and here's our non-inked one. Now I was going to show you one with stamps, but I don't think that I have any of the stitching stamps. I think I did once upon a time, but I don't think I have them anymore. So let me just check real quick. And I don't have any. But, like I said, you don't have to have the stamps. You don't have to have the sewing machine. You could go back in with a pen or a pencil and do the faux stitching. And I'm just going to use this Paper Mate Ink Joy. And what you can do is, I'm not going to do it on these, but let's just take a couple pieces of scraps here and I'll show you real quick. I'm not going to do this whole piece, but let's say we want this piece on the top of our page here. So we put that there. And then let's say we want this piece on here as well. Oops. And if you want, you can use your paper trimmer to trim these out and make them perfectly square. I'm just using my scissors for the video. Normally I would use my paper trimmer because I can't cut a straight line to save my life. Okay. So say this is what we're working with, okay? You can take your, I got glue on here. You can take your pencil and you can just go down here and make little dash marks. And you can do that on either side. And it just gives it the illusion that it's been stitched. Or you could go and do little X's across it to give it a look like that. Or you can do the zigzag. I'm not the greatest at doing the zigzag one. So there's some different options if you don't have a sewing machine or if you don't have any faux stitch stamps. You can always go to Ally and buy faux stitch stamps. They have them on there pretty cheap, a lot cheaper than what you would find them in the store. So I just wanted to come on and do this video real quick because somebody was asking about different techniques and different ways to do Franken paper. And so I figured I'd come on here and show a couple different ways that I have done them myself. So you've got your faux stitching, you've got your inked one, and then you've got your just sewn around one. And again, you can leave them plain with no stitching at all and they still look just as pretty once they're done. So this is my take on Franken paper. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope you took something from it. If you have further ideas and tips and tricks for this, leave it in the comments down below. I would be glad to see those and maybe try some of your guys' techniques out if you have any different ones. If you like this video, please comment and subscribe, and I will do and return the favor and subscribe back to your channel. So thanks for watching. Remember guys, always do what you love and love what you do. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.